to see the hands of the boomers. If you're a boomer, put your hand in the air. Put your fist in the air. You're a boomer? Are you a zoomer? Let me see you make that Z in the air. So from the boomers to the zoomers, that's who we are here today. In 1964, 65, 63, 68, we marched in these streets of Venice. I want you to turn around and face the south. That way. Everybody, turn around and face the south. That piece of land that you are looking at is the first site of the First Baptist Church of Venice. Say that. First Baptist Church of Venice. This area that you are standing in was the area of the restricted covenants, where the only place that black and brown people could live in this community. If you were white and you are standing here today, you would not have been here in 1912, 1913, 1914, 1915. Black people lived here because it was the only place that we could live. Ancestors that came from Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, Texas, Oklahoma, moved here to this community and lived in this 1.5 mile square area because this is the only place that we could live. We lived in a red line district that didn't allow us to buy homes anyplace else, that didn't allow us to shop anyplace else unless the eyes were upon us as if we were thieves in the night, during the broad daylight, mind you. We could not live other places, enjoy life in other places, even though our forefathers came here seeking freedom. They didn't find it in the way that they were looking for. That church across the street, First Baptist Church of Venice, California, was built by black people who owned that land. They owned that land. We're talking about people that moved, that lived down the street on this block right here, on this block, that owned the land. When they built that church, First Baptist Church of Venice, and outgrew that church, they built this church. Turn around to your north. This church, right here. And from 1966 to 1968, when the church was constructed, they opened the doors of the church across the street, and led by Reverend E.L. Holmes, they marched across the street through these doors right here. These doors. This hallowed pathway right here. And this church was opened 1968. It survived the 1965 riots. It survived the 1968 riots. It survived until the Penske's bought it in 2017 and thought that they should make it their personal residence. Their personal residence. Not just this, not just that, not just the parking lot in the back, but all of this. 7 lots. A compound for the Penske's. Not a church anymore. And I want to shout out to our Councilman Mike Bonin. Because Councilman Mike Bonin stood in front of a congregation of folks somewhat like this down on 3rd Street. And he got up on the platform and he said, "I'm with you. I'm going to support the church. I'm going to save that church. I'm going to support black history and black culture in the Venice community. I'm with you." And when we went to Councilman Mike Bonin and we said, "What about your promise?" And he said, eventually, because he kind of strung us out for a little while,
8 months.
by postponing the council meeting, saying that he wanted to recheck with the Penskes of what their real intent was. And then he finally had the council meeting that was on consent calendar. You know what that means? Consent calendar, we don't get to talk about the issue before the council. It just gets voted on. So after postponing the meeting for 8 months, stringing us along, saying, I just want to make sure that what their intent is, he puts it on the calendar for a consent vote, and he voted to support the Penskes. And when Black Lives Matter.
Tell me that Mike Bonin believes that Black Lives Matter.
She wants me to tell her that Mike Bonin believes that Black Lives Matter. But I can't say that. I can't say that because he has not demonstrated that. When we asked him, what did you mean? What happened to the promise that you made? He said, oh, well, what I said was that I would support the facade. I would let you keep what the building looked like. I didn't say that I would save the church. I'm just going to keep the edifice looking the way it looks. So he lied. He sided with the Penskes in the same way that he sides with the developers and the planners and those people who have come to the community countless numbers of dollars. I tell you what, if you look at every building or think about every building that has been destroyed in Venice, where you see a 2-story glass front concrete building and the millions of dollars that is being sold for, you count that up and that'll tell you about how much money. Okay, so we have to live the lives that suggest or that states that we know what's needed. Speakers before you have said that we need to be united. As I look across the field, as I look down 7th Avenue, as I look down Westminster and all the way down to 6th, this body of people are the masses that we need to not continue just for today. This cannot be a moment. This has to be a movement. This cannot be for the time being. This has to be for on and on and on and on until there is a resolution, until there is an end to the killing of black people, of brown people, of anybody that doesn't fit the standard of what other people who think that they're not marginalized, but they marginalize us. Those people, when we no longer have to fit to a standard that they call out for us, when we become one people, one love, that's when, no, we can't even rest then. You know, we rested after the Civil War a little bit when they gave us the Emancipation Proclamation. I see Mr. Walker in the audience, and we're talking about having a march, a Juneteenth march. Who knows what Juneteenth is? Woo! Juneteenth is the date that June 19th that black folks have adopted as their liberation day, because we sure in the hell were not liberated on July 4th. That's right. And I just want to say one thing about our Native Americans and our indigenous folks. When they talk about making America great again, when they talk about living under the law of the Constitution, Native Americans are not even mentioned in the Constitution.
Shame.
How do you deal with that? And the fact that they were not mentioned in the Constitution is indicative of the way that they are treated today. The fact that black people have never been free is indicative of the way that they are treated today. Even though people will say, yes, we have made progress. I marched in these streets in the 60s. Yeah, there's some progress, but we still ain't free.
Right. Not enough.
We still ain't free. We still good. And it doesn't matter. My generation said, get your foot off my neck. Your generation says, get your knee off my neck. I don't care if it's your foot, your knee, your elbow, or your hands around my throat. Now, when I get excited, I'm subject to curse a little bit, but I don't care which part of your body that you use against my body. Stand away from me and let me stand free on my own 2 feet. So you may shoot me with your words.
Okay.
You may cut me with your eyes.
Tell the truth.
You may